Mobile phone companies have turned our chat into one of the biggest businesses in Britain. So when they got the call from the government that the 3G licences were up for grabs, they smelt cash. There were 5 on offer, and it sparked a bidding frenzy. Companies were ready to pay silly money to get their hands on one. In the end, it cost them £22 billion, straight into Tony Blair's coffers. All they had to do now was find a way to make 3G pay. There's one big problem. We don't want the masts in our backyard, and that's exactly where the companies need them, right among their customers.
All over Britain, mobile phone masts have turned ordinary people into protesters. That's become the #1 headache for the phone companies. Their problem is, how do they deal with that and still get the masts up in the places where they want them?
The answer is, with difficulty.
No phone masts! No phone masts!
This is Hackney, East London. Last year there were plans for a big 3G mast, and the locals weren't too impressed. Parents here are frightened that actually the scare stories are true, that masts can cause headaches, nausea, even cancer.
I don't want the test bed of this technology to be my children. They might not have proof now, but my children will be the proof in 15 years. Maybe it'll be fine. I don't know. I just don't want them testing it out on us.
Most scientists say there's no evidence that links phone masts to ill health, but many parents still aren't convinced.
The industry's never been a fan of this type of theory linking its masts to health problems in local communities, for obvious reasons. But new research has emerged which even government boffins are taking seriously.
The Dutch government, realising the level of public concern about phone masts, asked their scientists to devise an experiment that would prove they were safe. The research took 72 volunteers who were exposed under strict conditions to signals from the phone masts, including the new and more powerful 3G ones.
We found a relationship between 3G base station signals and the effect on experienced human well-being. They were reporting headaches, they were reporting feeling less good, feeling not so well.
The result that 3G beams did lead to people feeling unwell was so unexpected the scientists themselves were baffled.
I was surprised, to say the least, yes. Yeah. Especially because I didn't expect to find anything. Because, we had no clue. We still have no clue what is the cause.
Our government's official science body has said the results are important, but that more research is needed. In the 90s, our government had come up with its own report on masts.
And it sounded ominous for the phone companies. The talk was of harsh new laws on where masts could go up, with schools to be given a right of veto if the masts were too close. But overnight, the picture changed.
The companies were left to police themselves. The government did set limits on emissions, but Tony had his billions, and surprise, surprise, there was no veto for schools, just guidance to consult.
What they came up with was the 10 commitments, the industry's pledge to be open, friendly and honest.
They're the ultimate rules about where and how you build masts. But if the phone companies break them, well, nothing much happens.
The real test of whether the phone companies have been behaving themselves is the schools test. Have they stuck to their key commitment to consult with schools if they want a mast nearby?
The first thing we needed to know was how many schools have masts near them. So we carried out the biggest survey of masts and schools ever conducted. There's no official information, we had to find out our own. Our research team mapped every single school in the country, all 26,000 of them. to see how many were near mast. We looked at schools 50 to 200 metres from a mast, the zone where the emissions are usually at their strongest.
The science isn't clear, but a government report did recommend that masts shouldn't go too near schools without the schools agreeing.
What we found was nearly 1 in 10 had a mast close by. Many didn't know they were there, so we thought we'd let them know ourselves.
How do you feel when I tell you now that we've done some research about your school and there's actually 13 masts within 200 metres of your school?
I have to say I didn't know that, and that surprises me.
How do you feel now you see these masts up?
Well, just not too happy at all. We need to go and inquire into whose they are, how they got there, and did we know about them? I can see that there is a lot of secrecy around it because I was nowhere near as aware as I should have been of the number that there are.
A couple of months into our research, and we thought we'd found the school that came top of the Mast League. Bang in the middle of Soho's red light district, it already had more than its fair share of unwelcome neighbours, and now it's got a few more.
And we've had a look at lots of the schools, and we think that your school's at 27 masts within 200 metres. Now, that is probably the most masts outside any school in Britain. How do you feel about that?
I feel very uncomfortable about it. I mean, I think it's very worrying. We don't know what the long-term effects of these masts may be, and as I say, I feel that there has been very little real consultation, and so I'm afraid I feel very unhappy about it.
27 masts close by, but in some senses this head teacher's one of the lucky ones. At least she'd been consulted about some of the masts. What we didn't know yet was the bigger picture. Just how many schools in Britain have been consulted about nearby masts? While our researchers spoke to hundreds of schools, our investigation was uncovering a few of the characters on the fringes of the mobile industry. This is the story of a man who surrounded himself with more masts than a cutty sark. He's done what millions wouldn't. He's invited the mobile companies into his backyard in Birmingham. In return, he gets thousands of pounds in rent. His name is Stephen Alexander. His fondness for masts means he's not the most popular chap in town.
He's also got form for breaking the rules on masts. In April 2004, he had to pull one down because he failed to get proper planning. After that, he put up 2 more, within 100 metres of St Nicholas Primary School. It's Monday morning, and as parents are dropping their children off, they're confronted by yet another mast.
Look up there, see that? It's quite a large construction. And as I understand it, that wasn't there for this weekend.
No, it's terrible, really is.
And we understand it's got more than one antenna in there.
Well, that's it now. They've put one up, they're going to put loads more up, all over the place. So it's going to get worse, isn't it?
Overnight, a seemingly innocent CCTV pole has been transformed into a mobile phone mast. Yes, this tiny camera apparently needs a massive pole to support it. By sheer coincidence, it was also exactly the right size to house this strange-looking mobile phone mast. For Mr. Alexander, this probably means a few £1,000 in the bank.
I wasn't surprised because from Mr. Alexander's attitude, I knew that he was adamant that he had every intention of trying to get more antennae erected round by his business.
Parents at St Nicholas told us they thought the mast broke the rules, so we decided to call in a planning expert. 11:33. This is Richard Newstead. When councils are scratching their heads about masts, they come to this man. Not much gets past him.
Super flat. Well, it's extraordinary to think that that mast was erected as being a CCTV tower. And indeed, looking at the size of the mast and the relatively small size of the television camera that's on it, it seems inconceivable that a mast like that would be necessary to support that sort of camera.